All right. Rondi, it's just you and I right now. How's everything going with you? My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. Hey, Rondi, how's the sound? Is it all right? Sound pretty good? I just put all my stuff back together, so I'm kind of uncertain exactly how I'm coming across. I know the lighting is better. I like that. I like that. So, I've never really had a one-on-one with you. How are things going for you? Things going okay? This is quite interesting. I've never really had just one. Well, it's been a while since I had one person in the chat, but hopefully we'll have some more here in a little bit. Let me dim this light a little bit. Oh, wow. Don't want to do that. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're doing all right. I'm glad you're doing all right. Happy Thursday to you. I thought I'd get on here and I'd just talk about some things. Let me see what's on my mind. Oh, I like that. That kind of gives it a mood feel to it. Wow. I'm doing great. I can't really complain. Doing really good. Really good. I can't complain. It shows that there's no one in the chat right now. That's odd because you're in here. I'm in here. So, anyways. Well, I thought I'd get on here, Rondi, and I'd do a little bit and talk about the IDAHO4 stuff. Seems like a lot of other people are on right now. So, you know what I want to do? I want to talk about. I'm going to play one of Viviana's videos. I've been wanting to play this video for a while. And I hope that she does not mind. I'm going to play this one because this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to get like a head start. Viviana, I'm giving you credit for this. So just Rondi and I. So, we're going to chill and watch it. It's almost like we're having a live by ourselves, Rondi. Isn't that crazy? Here we go. Viv explained this really good.
I wish transparency had come in this case so much sooner, because there were many of us that were trying to tell so many of you that the survivors did not call people over at 9 a.m., that the murders didn't take place at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., that they did in fact take place after 4 a.m., and that the surviving roommates did not do anything wrong. Okay. Also, the bodies were not staged. They were not moved from outside. Okay. This took place within the house. So finally, the text messages are being released. And if you still want to insist that they called people over at 9 a.m. or that the murders took place at 2 a.m., please let Darwinism take over and drive off a frickin' bridge. Because the facts of the case are finally being.
And I'm going to go into this a lot more detailed tomorrow. So, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central, I will be going over the document step by step, kind of like people are doing tonight. But I wanted to kind of talk about this because this is quite interesting to me. And I thought Viviana did a great job explaining it. Welcome, JB. Thank you for being here with Rondi and I.
Being confirmed little by little. And a whole lot of you have attacked these survivors for no reason at all. And it's disgusting. But let's take a look at these text messages. So at 2:10 in the morning, Dylan had sent a text message to the Uber driver. Um, and then she was awake at texting from 2 a.m. But then there was not.
I heard somebody earlier going off on that, like, what was she doing texting the Uber driver at that time? Didn't Maddie and Kaylee arrive home at 1:56? What was she doing texting the Uber driver at that time? Well, what if she knew the Uber driver? Whoa, 12, turn the light back on. Hey, Jeff H, how you doing, buddy? What if she knew the Uber driver? Like I said, I'm going to get more in detail tomorrow on this, but when it comes to um, critical thinking pattern, there's a lot of individuals that really they despise the rules of logic, when it comes to thinking things through and actually identifying what documents really mean instead of that biasness that when you read something and you want it to say something, well, you're not going to see what it says because you're already angry about it. And that's another thing that I don't understand today. It's like everywhere I went regarding these documents, there was so much anger, so much contempt over these documents since they started coming out. Chat, what do you think that's about? What do you think all that's about? And there was somebody, talking about individual gloating and this and that. What do you think that's about, chat? Do you think that people are honestly gloating about four heinous murders? This is not a game, you know? Anybody that's gloating, I would like to think that they really weren't gloating, that they were just probably relieved that after all this time, you know, we're finally getting a little piece of the pie. Nothing more, nothing less. She may have known the Uber driver, and 14 minutes after he dropped off Kaylee and Maddie, maybe Dylan is like, hey, friend, you could have stopped by and said hi. I mean, it could be anything, Jeff. You're right. I mean, hey, Melissa, how you doing? Welcome. I mean, she could have known him. She could have asked if he was, driving. Can you pick me up something on your way home? Obviously they knew him enough for her to have his number in the phone, right? I mean, it's interesting to me.
Nothing, no text.
I really just got on because I just set up a new desk and I'm creating a new setup. So I'm excited about it. As you can tell, the lighting's a little better and I'm working on getting a backdrop with my name on it, the channel name, getting some more light so it'll be more professional looking. I am going to keep the ghetto stop sign though, because that gives it ambiance from the humble beginnings of 12 gauge.
All calls went unanswered. The records of these calls are not hearsay, as they do not meet the definition of a statement. Oral assertion, written assertion, or nonverbal conduct intended as an assertion under IRE 801A. So from 42208 to 42427, Dylan and Bethany send the following messages. Dylan to Bethany, no one is answering. Dylan to Bethany, I'm really confused right now. Dylan to Kaylee, Kaylee. Dylan to Kaylee again, what's going on? Bethany to Dylan, yeah, dude, what the fuck? Bethany to Dylan, Xana was wearing all black. Dylan to Bethany, I'm freaking out right now. Dylan to
I like how Viviana is reading this because it's actually a female voice. It's not someone that just skimming over these words with contempt in a way to distort the message. Viviana's reading it as if, with two young girls texting each other about what went on after the murder happened. And like I said, I'm going to deep dive tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central. Hi, Doodlebug. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Callie Dime, thank you for being here as well. You know, I think a lot of times people forget that they were young, that these females were 20, 21 years old. And like I've always said, if you can recall when you were that age, and it's psychological as well, that your brain is not fully developed. So all these individuals that claim, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? I appreciate that, Doodlebug. Thank you for coming by and saying hello. You're always welcome. I liked your video today. I might even show it. Do you mind if I show it after this? Because I really don't want to go deep into this. Do you mind if I show it? You're more than welcome to come up on panel 2 and explain it if you like. I really enjoyed it. Give me a yes or a no, okay? I'll show it. It's not a big deal. I enjoyed it. Um, so, if you've ever remembered being 19, 20, 21 years old and your brain's not fully developed. So, to say that they should have done this or should have done that as an adult presenting that, of course you're going to feel differently. But a young adult is not going to react or think the same way we do as adults that are later on in life, most of us. Because I can recall at this age, as she's reading this, I would have thought, you know what, this seems like a normal text message between people that are trying to figure something out. What do y'all think in the chat? Does it sound like something that is nefarious or what people have always thought, that it was such a crime scene set up, that people were, cleaning up stuff for 8 hours, this and that and the other? I mean, what do y'all really think? Do you think that um, it sounds innocent to me? What did it sound like to y'all? Let me rewind a little bit because I like how she's reading this. Here we go.
Bethany to Dylan, Xana was wearing all black. Dylan to Bethany, I'm freaking out right now. Dylan to Bethany, no, it's like a ski mask almost. Bethany to Dylan, STFU. Bethany to Dylan, actually. Dylan to Bethany, like he had something over his head and mouth. Dylan to Bethany, I'm not kidding, I am so freaked out. Bethany to Dylan, so am I. Dylan to Bethany, my phone is gonna die, fuck. Bethany to Dylan, come to my room. Bethany to Dylan, run. Bethany to Dylan, down here.
Okay, so yes, that's Viviana. I'm using her video on this. So when you're listening to that, yes, exactly, Kelly. They're questioning what's going on. One of them just woke up confused, saw a man in black, and she probably asked Bethany, hey, was anybody wearing all black? Maybe that's why she explained, well, Xana was in all black. But that still wouldn't make sense because Xana was like 5'3", and the person she saw was 5'10" or taller, right? So that wouldn't make sense, but they're still trying to figure it all out. And I heard and I saw, well, there would be blood everywhere. She would have seen blood as she ran downstairs. I don't know where people get the notion that there was so much blood in the living room area and in the kitchen. I don't get where they see that there was that much blood in that area. Can y'all help me out with that, chat? Exactly, JB. Exactly. I don't get where people think that there was so much blood in those areas and that they would have seen all that. Bethany's room was right below Dylan's. All she had to do was run out of her door, down the stairs, get into Bethany's room, and hide out. And somebody mentioned to me one time, and I didn't really think about this because I'm not from this generation, but they made it make sense to me. They said, the kids that are trained in the schools for active shooters and emergencies, they are always told to get to safety, lock the doors, and hide out until help arrives. So it does make sense that she would run downstairs to where there's a safe environment away from where she just viewed this individual walk by who she didn't know. He didn't talk to her. It does make a lot of sense that she would go down to Bethany's room and chill. Some people seem to automatically be contrary to anything said. Yeah. Maybe the footprint in front of Dee's room. Yeah, possibly. But they freaked out. Why do nothing? Why not call friends and ask them to text the others? Because it's 4:30 in the morning. It's 4:30 in the morning. And I believe that at 20 years old, when you're freaked out about something, the last thing you're wanting to do is call a bunch of people over. And what you're going to see is the continuum of this. So let me go ahead and relay it.
It says all of the above declarations are present sense impressions and excited utterances. This is supported by Dylan's grand jury testimony, where she indicates she just witnessed a startling event, i.e., heard noises in the residence and saw an unknown male in the residence. The declarations indicate both Bethany and Dylan are trying to make sense of the startling event contemporaneously or immediately following the startling event, i.e., no.
See, where she said she saw a man in the residence, she didn't say a kid or a young adult like myself. She said a man. So she realized this was a full grown man that she saw. She didn't see somebody that was younger or her age, which he was not. He was 8 years older at the time. This is now definite confirmation that Dylan and Bethany were texting with each other. I wasn't positive till now. I like precise language, and so often things are said that can be misunderstood. You're right. I like the fact that we're getting to that. We're getting to the next part. It's gonna do that. It's gonna say, okay, I'm talking. I don't know why I'm so long-winded. Here we go.
Time for reflection or fabrication. See Dylan's grand jury testimony attached. Okay. Then at 4:24 a.m., Dylan calls Ethan Chapin. Call unanswered. This phone record, like the other record of calls, is not a statement pursuant to IRE 801. Dylan and Bethany continue to text. At 4:24:58, Dylan texts Bethany, "I'm scared though." And Bethany responds at 4:25, "Yeah, I know, but it's better than being alone." Again, both statements are admissible as.
So does that sound like somebody who's thinking of going to clean an area up? Does that sound like somebody that is involved in a criminal act? No, she's scared. And Bethany's trying to comfort her. And somebody made an I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there because somebody mentioned this and I heard it in a live, and I'm going to try to speak on it before it gets thrown out there and misconstrued and contorted to mean what it probably doesn't. Right here it says DM text BF, I'm SCRWD though. And BF responds, yeah, but I know, but it's better than being alone. This looks like it said screwed, okay? But she was probably in such a panic or in a mindset where she wasn't texting right. She probably meant scared. But somebody was like, what does she mean by screwed though? Okay, if we're going to go down that avenue, somebody else said in that chat, okay, she could feel screwed because she saw the killer and he saw her. So that could mean that, she felt like, oh shit, I'm next type stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and mention that before it get thrown out there that she said she was screwed and what did she mean by that? But I believe, just like Viviana said, that she texts, I'm scared though. People look for any indiscrepancy to disbelieve anything instead of using their mind on the most obvious representation of language. But to be fair, I gave you two outcomes to that. So let's go ahead and go.
Present tense or as present sense impressions and excited utterances as they are describing an event or their state of mind and are spontaneous reactions to that event rather than result of reflective thoughts. At 4:27:47, Dylan calls Kaylee, call unanswered. At 4:28:44, she calls Xana, call unanswered. These are not statements.
So she's calling and they're not answering their phones, of course, for we know why. So that's logical, right? They're not going to answer. They're dead. Excuse me for being so callous, but that's the obvious, right?
Pursuant to IRE 801A. At 4:32:57, Dylan sends a text message to Kaylee stating, please answer. This statement is a present sense impression and it shows Dylan's perception of events and an excited utterance.
Okay, so people that are slamming her for not calling 911, she's still reaching out to the victims, right? She's texting, she's calling, nobody's answering. Would you continue to think, oh my God, they've just been murdered? I need to call 911. I need to go through the house and investigate. How many of you in chat at 20 years old would be that adventurous to do that? I know some of you would. Some of you would. But a lot of people would not, especially if they were scared and had to run down to be in a room with their friend or other roommate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, scared. How many of you would do that now? If a man walked by you and all you saw was a description of him, even without the bushy eyebrows, let's say that the bushy eyebrows get taken out. Even if you don't see the bushy eyebrows, you see a man all in black. You've never seen him before. You don't know who he is. He looks at you. You look at him briefly. He doesn't say a word to you. He doesn't look like somebody you know. And then nobody's answering their phone. And you've been drinking. Are you going to feel confident enough to walk around this house? Are you going to say, hey, come on, Bethany, let's go walk around the house, make sure everybody's all right? Most kids at 20, 21, 19 are not like full-grown adults that are going to venture out and check on other people. You're making it sound like they were all family. Now, if it was family, I could see somebody venturing through that house looking to make sure other people were okay. I would have done it, but that I'm not like everybody else, you know? I'm not saying, there's a difference between a male doing it and a female doing it. I'm not trying to make that, genre specific, but there's a lot of reasons why the man goes and checks on the noises in the middle of the night. Do y'all agree or disagree with me?
Spontaneous reaction to that event rather than the result of reflective thought. The next morning, Dylan sends the following messages starting at 10:23. Dylan to Kaylee, please answer. Dylan to Mogan, are you up? Dylan to Kaylee, are you up? The text messages are not hearsay because they will not be introduced for the truth of the matter asserted. Even if deemed hearsay, they will be allowable as present sense impressions as they reflect on the consistency and continuation of Dylan's text messages from the night prior and reflect her then perception of what was occurring, i.e.,
So 10:30 in the morning, she's texting Kaylee, please answer. Texts Maddie, are you up? Texts Kaylee, are you up? No response. Are you going to go up there and barge in that room and be like, hey, why aren't you answering me? Are you? Are you going to go barge in on Vanna and Ethan and be like, why aren't y'all answering me? Especially if you're not sure that what you heard and what you saw was a dream. Your mind was all fuzzy, but you were clear enough to text Bethany what you saw or thought you saw, what you thought you heard. So there's verification that you were in and out of consciousness enough to recall information. How many of you would have went and snooped around the house? Melissa said she would have.
waking up and realizing that she had not heard from her roommates. At 11:39:09, DM has a text exchange with her father. These statements are not hearsays. They will not be introduced for the truth of the matter asserted, but instead to show a timeline for the morning. At 11:55, Dylan receives a message from Jay stating, Bro. This text message will not be introduced for the truth of the matter asserted. At 11:58, DM calls EA.
And that's another thing. People have been tripping out on that letter J. They've been assuming that that was one of the jacks, which nobody really knows. And, we can assume all we want. That could have been a typo as well. They could have left out a letter.
I'm assuming that's Emily Allant. I'm also assuming Jay is Hunter Johnson. This phone record is not a statement pursuant to IRE 801. DM receives a text message from Jay at 11:51:01 and then the vandal alert at 1:04:01. These texts are not hearsay because they will not be introduced for the truth of the matter asserted, but instead to show a timeline for the morning. Dylan and Bethany's testimony contained in State's Exhibit 5.2 and Exhibit 5.3, so that's their grand jury testimony. The state anticipates that both will testify at trial. The state intends to ask each witness about statements made to them November 13th, 2022. This testimony should substantially replicate the testimony they provided at the grand jury proceedings. The state submits the statements from both Dylan and Bethany to each other are allowable hearsay because they are present sense impressions and or excited utterances. Says previous adjudication, Judge John Judge had previously ruled the text messages and statements of Dylan and Bethany are present sense impressions and excited utterances, holding that both the text messages and the testimony of Bethany as to what Dylan told her were admissible as exceptions to the hearsay rule. That was the sealed order denying the motion to dismiss the indictment on grounds of bias grand jury. But yeah, I had seen a lot of people thinking that this was to exclude their text messages, and I figured there was no way the prosecution was wanting to exclude them because it went to the timeline and then it went to what was going through their minds in the moment. And that's huge. That's important. And it's important that the jury understands what they were thinking, what was going through their minds, how frantic they were. So, again, if you can still read these documents and still think that the two survivors had something to do with this crime, or that timelines are not what have been stated in the official documents, and that this was a staged crime scene, I'm serious. Just drive off a fucking bridge and I don't care. Report me to YouTube, do whatever you have to do. But I have no respect or patience for people like you.
Yeah. Yeah. If anybody can get in touch with Mind the Monster, tell her to come on here. I sent her and Kimber an email earlier and asked them if they wanted to come up. Sorry about that. I had that email up there. My bad. Kimber, if you or Doodlebug can get in touch with Mind the Monsters, you are more than welcome to come up and speak to me a little bit. I did invite her and you. And here's the link. So this is for them. So nobody else, please take the link. Okay, awesome. Well, there's the link. And I'd like to discuss some of this with you guys. I'm sorry that she didn't see that earlier. I sent it this morning, but we've all been busy all day. I understand that. Come on up and we can wait on her. You can wait for her. Yeah, Texas, you'll have to sit this one out, buddy. Kimber, how you doing? You got your mic muted?
Hey, 12 gauge.
Hey, you've been up here
Mind the
before?
Yeah, Mind the Monsters is coming, honey. She had to deal with her dogs, and she said she'd be along.
All right, I just saw that. I just saw that email. I was like, "Oh, I see Kimber, but I don't see Mom." I'm
Yeah,
like,
she said she'd be along. She's did she
okay.
respond?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, she said because I took a nap after work, so but yeah, she said
Hey,
she'd be along in just a few minutes.
isn't that crazy? I don't know how old you are, and you don't have to tell me because that's rude for a man to ask a woman how old she is. But the later on in life, after working, that nap feels good. It hits different, doesn't it?
I'll be 60 this year. It's fine. I'm not. I have no problem
Okay.
telling anybody how old I am because I feel that age is not something that's afforded to everyone,
Right.
and I
Right.
feel fortunate to be my age because it's not something that everyone 60 is not something that everyone gets to be. So,
Yeah, that's true.
and when people
Well,
tell me how to act at my age, I'm like, I've never been this young before, so I don't know how to act my age.
right.
But
That's true.
yeah, I'll be 60 this year. But yeah, sometimes a nap after work just feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it hits different, man. It hits different. It's like you get that second wind, and most of the time, that's why I come on so late because I come home, I take that nap, I wake up, eat a little bit,
Mhm.
and then here we go.
Yeah, but sometimes when you take that nap after work, you wake up and you're like, "Am I late for work? Oh my gosh, what's going on?"
That's true. That's true. Also, you're like, oh my God, it's light out, and it's
You
still, it's like, did I
wake up
oversleep?
and you feel like you're in a different time. Oh, what happened?
Yeah,
Where am I
yeah.
at?
The last time I had you on here, we were talking the Apple River case. You remember that?
Yes, where the gentleman stabbed the young people. Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Did you ever keep up with that? I mean, did you agree with the outcome, or did you think that he was going to be found innocent?
I wasn't sure about that one. I really didn't follow that case a whole lot. I know he was found
Mhm.
guilty.
Yeah.
I wasn't really. That was a tough one. 12 gauge. That was a tough one
It
because
was. Yes,
that was a tough one. That one what could have gone either way. But hi, Jeff H. How are you? I missed you, Jeff H. That was a tough one. It could have gone. That one could have gone either way because I feel that the jury could have found him. It just depended on what the jury saw. As
yeah,
far
I
as
mean, I think the reason that they found him guilty. Here's mom right here.
hey,
Hey,
hello.
hey! I just saw your email a while ago, a couple of seconds ago, minutes ago. I think you're on mute
Hello.
also.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, that was me. Sometimes me and mom sounded like I was asking her how she was.
I got to get used to that. But in responding to that, Kimber, I think they got him guilty because after he stabbed the first boy, they said that at that point he was no longer in danger, and he continued to stab other people. And I think that's went from self-defense to manslaughter. I think they got him for. I'm not sure.
And I think that's true. I think at some point there was a. We're talking about. Do you remember the Apple River killings, Mom?
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah.
I think at some point after he stabbed the first kid, I think at some point there was a flight or fight where he could have gotten away. So I think that is definitely why that they found him guilty, because he had that flight or fight and he could have gotten away. So,
Yeah.
but he continued to stay and fight and do what he did. So I believe that that's why they probably found him guilty, because of the fact that he did not get away and he continued to stay there and stab people.
That's true. Hey, everybody in chat, say hello to Kimber and Mind the Monsters. We know her as Mom. Mom has a podcast called The Front Porch, right? Isn't that what it's called?
It's Mind of Monsters, but it is the front porch.
Okay. Mind the Monsters, yeah. Okay. You want to tell us a little bit about your channel? Tell the subs a little bit about your channel and the people that are going to be watching this after on replay?
Absolutely. My name is my podcast is Mind of Monsters. I'm known as Mom because it's easier to put in chat. Big M, little O, big M. I am a victim's advocate for missing people murdered unsolved. I am a local advocate for a case that's local to me here in Orlando, Florida. I make flyers. I do podcasts. I interview families. Do all the things that should be done in the missing community the right way. I work with the larger groups. I work with advocates and just trying to be the change instead of sitting and complaining about the change.
Right, right. Well, I tip my hat to you, even though I'm not wearing one. I tip my hat to anyone that's in that arena because it's very needed, and I'm sure a lot of those cases are not easy to investigate as well as present.
It gets very heavy.
Which
heavy.
Which one was what was the most recent case that you did, if you don't mind me asking?
The most recent case that I covered was Aiden Clune.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So Aiden went missing. He was having a mental health crisis. He was headed from California to Utah, was lost in Nevada, walked out into the desert, and hasn't been seen since. the local family that I advocate for, which is Vlada Castle. He's a missing Marine out of here in Orlando, Florida. Bethany is his sister, his number one advocate. I'm his local advocate. And she had Amy Clune, which is Aiden Clune's mom, on panel on her TikTok live. And I decided that I have covered his case in the past, but I wanted to bring his case back out to the light. So that's what we did. And, you know, she's still striving to find him. He's still missing. So my community pulled together, and we actually had one of our community members, Arctic Fox, that donated to be able to go to downtown Orlando yesterday, and I bought a brand new Fender guitar to raffle off for funds to help Aiden's mom in the fight for finding Aiden and being able to bring him home and put him to rest, or bring him home and get him the help that he needs.
Right. Well, these cases, I don't know if you cover any in Texas, but the only ones I was really looking into were like the Caleb Harris case down in Corpus, and I did another one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know I was I ventured into the Riley strain, of course, you know, and I was doing the Ladybird Lake ones, you know, with those kind of murders that were happening down there around Austin. Have you heard of those? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually friends with the local reporter that does the Lady Bird Lake killings. He's an amazing human being. He's awesome. We've been planning a podcast together. So the Lady Bird Lake, that one right there is like what you want, twists and turns and craziness. That is a good case to get involved in.
Yeah. If y'all don't mind me playing an interview that I did with one of the victims' brother, y'all mind watching this with me?
No,
Not at
not at
all.
all.
Okay. He's actually a family member, like distant family, like 2 or 3 family removes. But his name's Martin Gutierrez, one of the victims, and he's actually a family member of mine.
Leslie, I love and adore you too, honey.
Let's see if I can find it. You know, when you're looking for something on a live, you can never find it.
Absolutely.
So why don't y'all tell the chat a little bit more about you while I'm looking for this? That way we don't have any dead air, if you don't mind. Kimber, tell us a little bit about your part on the front porch.
Well, my part on the front porch, I came here because of the Sebastian Rogers case last February. And I have become fortunate enough to want to get into the real crime community. And I've also been fortunate enough to want to start advocating for the missing and the missing and the murdered. And I have teamed up. Mom has been kind enough to take me under her wing to show me how to advocate the right way.
Okay.
Because that is something that is very important to me, is learning how to advocate the right way. Do no harm, empathy over apathy. So that is why I do cases with her right now. She's teaching me how to talk to family members. I'm so honored to be able to work with her and Arctic and Doodle. All 3 of them do great work.
Yes.
I only strive to be as good as they are someday, and it is my honor to work with the 3 of them. We are a team, and I love being part of this team. I drive Mom crazy, but you know, she helps me a lot.
That's part of being family, right? You know,
Yeah.
you drive each other crazy.
Yes.
Well, I've watched some of your lives, at night, and I stop in there, give a like, say hello. I really enjoyed the content that you've been presenting. They're different. It's different cases, and it's about true crime. The serial killer series that y'all do as well. It's very well done. So if you guys in the chat have never been over there, why don't y'all take a venture over there and check it out because it's a refreshing new take on true crime. It's not like what true crime has been when I started. It isn't just sitting there talking the whole time and letting the video play. It's actually giving you insight on what you're seeing, giving you the story behind it. Is that not correct?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Okay.
commentary is very important. And I'm also working on my own channel. I do have a channel as well. Most of it is shorts right now of missing people, but I am working on that as well. I have not gone live yet, but I'm going to get there one day. But I do have my own channel as well.
Awesome. Subs, if y'all could put her channel in the chat, that'd be awesome. So let's go ahead and run this because it's about an hour long. You ladies have about that time to hang with me?
Sure.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
this. Here we go. Just the status quo. So without further ado, welcome Mitchell Gutierrez. Hey Mitchell, how's it going?
I'm doing all right, sir. Yourself?
Good, good. So you heard my intro, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
I just wanted to give you the opportunity to tell the audience a little bit about the situation surrounding Lady Bird Lake as you know it, because you do have a firsthand knowledge of it. Um, Unlike the rest of us who just read about it and maybe hear stories here and there about it, you actually have connection to it. So you want to let us know exactly how you got involved in this situation?
Yeah, so all this started back in 2018 when Martin went missing. But, kind of take a step back a little bit further. My brother graduated from Texas Tech, and on January 1st in 2018, he moved to Austin, lived with me and my now wife, Whitney. Um, and we'd go out all the time, go out to Rainy Street. It was like a really popular, bar district area. Um, and one night he went out with some friends on a Sunday. It was a Sunday night. Went out to go watch some football, and then he never came home. Never answered his phone, anything like that. This kid never missed a day of work. He was reliable as could be. We always went to the gym like almost every single day. So, the next day when he didn't go to work and he didn't respond to my text about the gym and didn't come home, like we knew something was immediately off. And then it started this whole process. And so that's how we got involved. And we had heard some things about Rainy Street prior to Martin's case, but you don't think anything like that could ever happen to you, right? Until
What
it
were
does.
some of the things that you had heard about Rainy Street?
Well, there had been someone that had gone missing. Like there was actually like 4 or 5 people before Martin that year that were on Rainy Street and found in the water that year. And then 2 after him in the same year. I think it was 7 or 8 that went missing in 2018, all in the same area. Once again, all same characteristics, adult males like 25 to 35, all off of Rainy Street, all in the water, dark features, it just, it's not coincidental at that point, kind of hard to think
Okay.
it is.
Well, I never. So, Mom, is this kind of like the experience that you've heard about Lady Bird Lake and stuff that's went on down there? Like both of you have heard things like this. The ages
Yeah,
of the
they're
males.
the ages of the males. They pretty much are within a couple of years. The description on most of them are the same, with the exception of what is it? One female. I don't have my
Mm-hmm.
notes in front of me, so I might
Yeah,
misspeak.
yeah, you're
The
correct.
area that they're found in, and it's always the same story though. They went to what Rainy Street is, for those that don't know, it's like a strip. It's like a strip of bars and eateries and places like that. And then they're found either in or around Lady Bird Lake. And it's, you have two sides of it. You have people that are like, well, you know, why isn't law enforcement, why isn't the local officials coming out and warning the public? And then you have the other side of it where people are like, well, it's a touristy area. And much like Nashville with Riley Strain's case, they don't want this put out that it could be an SK or a group or a couple of them that are doing this. But if you critically think at all or cover these cases or look into them, the similarities are mind blowing. And the fact that they're not reported unless they're locally reported or if somebody makes a lot of noise.
That's what I was going to ask you. It's like, you know, you hear of missing people, you hear of people that you know, like this case where they go mysteriously into a lake without anything, you know, being said about it. Hey, Arctic, thank you for being here. And the next thing you know, it's no longer reported again. Is that the same thing with missing people?
It depends. If it's not deemed a high profile case, then you're not going to hear about it in the media. And a lot of people that don't deal with the media personally don't realize that mainstream media, unless it's like Fox News, who really just kind of toots their own horn, they can only report on what law enforcement feeds them to report. They're not allowed to just go out and go willy-nilly and cover cases. We've had missing cases where I myself have called news stations and talked to the lead reporter, and they tell you, oh, we have to check with law enforcement. We have to have, you know, the grace from law enforcement before we can cover the case.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Hey, Arctic.
I heard of the dark features. Is that
Mhm.
that seemed to be
Dark hair.
yeah.
Yeah, dark hair, you know, whether they're Caucasian, Hispanic, or whatever. Yeah. And that was each one. Yeah.
So how did the police handle this investigation wise? Were they proactive or were they just kind of dismissive?
So the police didn't handle it worth a damn. So I knew Martin went missing. We called the police. We filed a missing persons report. We put it on social media immediately. So this was like the following day after we realized something was going on. You know, so we had people searching around on Rainy Street, asking questions, all that. Well, the following day, on the 20th, I believe, we put all that stuff out. I went to the police department, filed an official missing persons report, came back here. By the time I got back to the house, within an hour, I had Spectrum News, KXAN, Fox News, all of them trying to reach out to see what was going on, and actually came to the house and helped me get the word out. All on their Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever they could get it all out on. Because not many people watch the news, you know. But anyways, that's how we were able to get the word out. And then the police finally, you know, started coming on in. They ended up doing they got the helicopters and all that around Lady Bird Lake, and you know, I guess they have infrared cameras and all that. And they said that he was not in the water. He was not in the water at all. So we focused our searches elsewhere. And it was us that was getting surveillance footage at each of the bars and all this stuff and giving it to the police, like sending it to them.
Is this some of the stuff that you guys encounter, Mom, as being like the families are telling you that it's more them doing the investigation than the police?
You see that more often than I even want to count. You know, most of these police forces, they're understaffed or they're undertrained. They only handle the case for a few months. It gets put on a stack on a desk or in a file, and families are left with questions and having to do their own research and their own documenting. And then, you know, a handful of them have the blessing of having a local, you know, investigative reporter, like the gentleman that I was speaking about, that stays boots on the ground, that is there before law enforcement shows up, that works with these families hand in hand, that sits down with dinner with the families or on the phone for hours at a time with the families.
And that seems like even in true crime, the families seem to be more proactive than the police, and that could be frustrating in itself. Wouldn't you agree?
It's extremely frustrating. And like we have a case here out of Auburndale, Florida, that a lady went missing. Her name's Tanya Whip, and the advocate that I work with reached out to law enforcement and was like, this is what we're doing. This is who we are. And I've talked to her sister for like 4 hours on the phone night. And come
Hmm.
to find out, the local police down there had no idea what name was or even how to enter someone in NamUs.
Wow.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
That's scary. That is extremely scary.
I mean, my heart was hurting while I was interviewing Mitch right here because, you could still see the pain. You could still hear it. And it had been years, I think we did this interview last year. And we're friends on Facebook, and we know the same people in our families or whatever. But you know, he still isn't over it. And people grieve their own ways, and some people never get over the loss of someone. That is the sad part of it all. I'm glad you individuals that are doing the missing children, the missing cases, I'm glad y'all have that passion for that to never give up because it's well needed. And all of you that do it, there's no one greater than the other or have more resources or anything. Y'all all are equal. And for every child that you bring home or advocate to get information or anything like that, man, that is amazing. That is amazing courage and amazing for y'all to put in that much dedication towards it. I mean, I can do all I can do with true crime. I mean, I tried to think about going that arena, but I just have too much on my plate.
It gets heavy sometimes. It really does. It
I,
gets
I
super heavy. And you wake up in the morning and you get ready because we post out the missing flyers,
hmm
and there's just so many more the next morning, and the next morning there's just so many missing.
I
There's
got
just
one more
so many.
question. I got one more question to you guys. Do these families reach out to you like they know your name's out there known well enough that okay, we need to reach out to these individuals because they're either locally or they've had, they can go places that we can't go. I mean, are y'all tied into a network of people or are you doing it solo?
I am tied in with a network of people. I've had families reach out to me. I've had other advocates reach out to me. It just depends on, you have to take into effect that when these families have somebody go missing, it's not something that they're used to. So I
Right.
work with a really great team of a large missing advocacy group. I work with a couple of them, and your name does get out there, and people know your name, and they know that you're a safe place, and you may help one family, and that family say, hey, Christy from Mind of Monsters, she did a great job. She made flyers for my family. She made the phone calls. She went boots on the ground, whatever the case is. And your name gets out there. Once your name's out there in a positive light, and you're working with credible people that are known for being credible and actually doing the help and doing the work, you
Right.
will have families reach out to you. But sadly, sometimes what happens is these families don't realize who they reach out to, and they get tied up in, I hate to say it like this, but bad groups of people.
That's true. That's true. Well, let's continue the interview.
There was actually two police officers that went to this like little Hispanic like area that's on this roundabout near right off of Rainy Street, and they were asking for the wrong date. They
Oh,
were
okay.
like Martin went missing on Sunday night, Monday morning. That's the footage they needed. No, they were asking for Monday night, Tuesday morning. Like the staff had to call me telling me that the police were being belligerent. They wouldn't listen to them. They were like, no, this is the wrong date. You want this date. They're like, we said what we want and blah, blah, blah. And I had to just go at it like with the detectives telling them like, you can't even have police officers do their damn job. You know, like this is what we're trying to find out is answers about my brother. And what are we going to do with the wrong date?
Right.
And then also too, the bar before Martin went to Alibi, Luster Pearl, they gave the police the wrong footage and deleted what we needed. And I never got to see the footage that we needed, and nothing happened to them. Nothing. The police didn't do anything about that. There was no follow up. There was nothing.
So they deleted
So,
the actual footage of Martin in the bar.
yeah, they deleted the
So
whole day.
how long would you say that he was in that bar?
I don't know. It looked like he purchased one drink and then they went to Alibi. My buddy got him one drink and then he purchased one. So within that 2 drink period, maybe less than an hour, then they went to the bar next door. And my brother was like leaning over on the other bar. They didn't even serve him at Alibi because he was acting off. So, and I
So
never
he
got
was
to.
acting like he was already intoxicated or drugged or something.
And I've gone with my brother drinking time after time, you know, and all that. The behavior I saw in that footage from Alibi was not Martin. I don't know what the hell that was. He was completely different. You could see it too, his mannerisms, the way he was standing, like all this stuff. And then when he left the bar, so there's an inside portion of it, and then you go to the bathrooms, there's an outside area. Well,
Right.
if you leave the bathroom, you can actually go around. And so you can leave around there's another exit. So that's
Right.
what he did. And so my friends never saw him leave. And when we saw him leave, he was like skipping, you know, and my brother's like a big power lifter guy. Like he was not a skipping individual. There was something off. And I never found out what.
It must have been infuriating. And this is something that I try to get across on this platform is that the families know the family members inside and out. You know, they know their mannerisms. They know, you know, whether they can handle their liquor or, you know, things of that capacity. And when it
Mhm.
comes to the authorities investigating this stuff, I believe that they should listen to the family a lot more than they do. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh yeah. The last footage I have of my little brother was at the towers of Town Lake. We were able to speak with security and we got that footage. And that was the last video evidence I ever saw. And it was my brother walking on the service road of I-35. And it was weird because you go down that service road, there's a convenience store that's right there. So you either go straight in front of that convenience store or you take a right and go into this like dark cul-de-sac area, you know, and there's no reason for Martin to go in that area. Like there's no exit, there's no nothing. It's just dumpsters and whatnot. But anyway, so we looked at the footage of that convenience store and he never went into the front of it. And so you know, we were the ones that found that and gave it to the cops. You know, like it was us, the family, that was going and doing their damn job. They did such a piss poor job at it, at everything.
It sounds like. It sounds like. So, there wouldn't have been a reason for him to be over there at all. No, no restaurants or no family places or vehicle where he was heading to. No
Didn't
reason at
make any
all.
sense. None.
Okay.
Like we took Ubers everywhere, which is what didn't make sense. Like he even called up one of our friends. Like I went to nursing school with Dana. She's such a great person. She was working that night. She didn't get off till 3 a.m. And so Martin was like, "Hey, can you give me a ride?" You know, she was the last person to talk to him, you know. And she's like, she had told me like the next day when I was like, "Hey, like you talked to Martin," or that she's like, "I talked to him yesterday. His voice was weird. He was slurring. Like he would answer my question, then ask the same question again. So he's like something was off with him. So she knew too. You know, is
Didn't they say the same thing about Riley Strain? Well, he called somebody and he sounded a little off.
Yeah, he called his mom.
Yes.
He called his mom, and he didn't sound like himself, and he actually told her that his drink tasted funny.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
tasted like barbecue sauce.
Okay, yeah, I thought I remembered that. So, I mean, I've heard not only from Mitch, but I heard, from some other locals that that area is has been bad for people getting roofied. I even did another Lady Bird Lake live where there was some people that were arrested from like Atlanta or something that were going statewide, state to state, and they were robbing men in these cars where they were making it look like it was an Uber, and they would get these men in there. They'd roofie them, steal their cash, steal their cards, their phones, and ring up thousands and thousands of dollars on them. Did y'all ever hear that?
I've never heard that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yes, yes. It's
Ubers are dangerous, and these individual safe rides, you know, there ain't you couldn't pay me to get into one of them.
No,
yeah. I
my
never
mom
And you
go.
see it a lot, like in Daytona Beach, like especially like during bike week and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't live in Daytona anymore. I live in Orlando, but when we lived in Daytona, like you would have random people when you're walking down the sidewalk that would come up to you and they'd say, "Hey, do you need a ride? Blah 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 blah. I'm cheaper than an Uber." Oh no no no, thank you. Mm-mm. I'll walk.
Yeah.
Uber scare me because my mom always told me not to get in the car with strangers. So, and then I'm gonna.
I guess I live dangerously because I go to football games and stuff, and most of the time, before I was by myself, I'd go to concerts by myself. I'd take an Uber, never think twice about it. But, I
But
always
I
tell
mean,
myself, who wants to kidnap me? I'm just an old dude. You know what I'm saying?
but supposedly, I guess Ubers are supposed to, and I'm using quotey fingers, supposed to be safe because they're supposed to know, who they pick up, where they go. They're supposed to
Mhm.
be tracked, but that tracking could be turned off easily. So I don't know.
Right.
I've never Ubered, but
Yeah. Well, let's continue the interview.
It's weird. And it was off because, like I said, we always Ubered everywhere. Like I even, and when we got into his phone records and everything, like there was no messages on Instagram, there was no messages on Facebook, there was nothing on Snapchat, there was no Uber request, or there was no Lyft request or anything like that. So there was nothing that could like direct us why he was going that way.
So, you
It didn't
guys,
make any sense.
did you find the phone, or this is just, going through the phone company and looking at the records?
Yeah, just
Did,
looking up the
did he have his
records.
phone on him?
He didn't.
No? Okay. So that would have made it harder to locate him a little bit more, right?
Yeah. hmm We were trying to
Because,
ping his phone, see what
yeah,
the last thing was. AT&T wouldn't do it without a warrant and stuff like that. They just didn't. So
and
they,
I appreciate you telling the viewers this because many times people are misconstrued with their own information. Oh, just do this or just do that. It's not. It doesn't sound as easy as what people believe. Would Would that be fair?
that is very fair. Yeah. It was nothing. None of the.
Do y'all find that in your line of business as well, Mom? That many people say, "Well, just do this or just do that or just go look here, just go do that." It's not as easy, is it, to just go and do that? You have to jump through hoops sometimes.
No, you can't just call like AT&T or Metro PCS and say, "Hey, I need this person's last phone ping or their phone records." That's not how it works. It doesn't matter if you're a family member, a mom, a dad, any of that. And like
Mhm.
Apple, if you have to get something out of an Apple phone, you have to go through Apple, or law enforcement has to go through Apple. Like it's not easy. It is a task. Now, I do have a resource that I do use that does have the capability of getting those types of things done. We actually had a missing girl, and I cannot say her name on here. It is still under litigation. So there's, her perpetrator is actively going through court, but we ended up finding her through her PlayStation. And that's
Oh,
not something that
wow.
law enforcement done. That was a private entity that we got a hold of. Well, myself personally got a hold of her gamer tag provided the gamer tag to the right person. We waited for almost a week and a half. The PlayStation got turned on, and that's all it took.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I would have never thought of that. You guys are doing all the good. I'm amazed at what I'm hearing right here.
This was easy. Getting information, getting responses back from the detectives. Like, this was an active case on a missing person. And we would message that detective. He wouldn't reply back to us for like a day or two. I'm like, I'm giving you evidence that needs to be acknowledged, like now, and this guy was just the worst with communication. Detective Donovan was his name. I'll never forget that.
Man. So, is there any reason that makes you believe that it was other than him accidentally drowning? I mean, was there any bruising? Was there any kind of injuries on the body? If you don't mind me asking, I know I'm digging deep there, but
no, that's okay, sir. Yeah, no. So there would be absolutely no reason for Martin to go anywhere near the water. It was November. It was like 20 something degrees. Like, there's no reason. And even at that, like, Martin was the greatest swimmer I knew, but not to say he would even go in the water, but none of that shit made sense that he would even be going that direction. And when they did find him, the autopsy did reveal that he had a large contusion on the back of his head. They kept saying, oh, he maybe just fell off the bridge and he hit his head. Well, I know I'm not like like a autopsy specialist or anything like that, but in order for someone to create a bruise, you have to have a pulse. If he would have hit his head and drowned like they said he did, he would have never developed a bruise in the back of his head. So he had to have something or an object head, and he was alive long enough to develop a bruise on the back of his head. And also too, like the eyes. Martin was found face down in the water on November 26th. He went missing on the 19th. He was face down in the water when they found him, but yet his eyes were opaque. They only do that if they have oxygen or they're exposed to the sun. And if he was face down the whole time, his eyes should have been clear as a whistle. It shouldn't have been different, and it was. And they just kicked it to the curb, didn't acknowledge it. And they ran this BS like talks panel, very broad, looking for benzodiazepines or PCP or marijuana. We didn't do any damn drugs. And so they need to look at other agents. And they started looking at other agents finally. And I think they found Rufalin in one of the most recent ones. So they're finally listening. But yeah, there was my brother had that bruise on the back of his head from something.
I know there for a while I had heard a rumor, and this is just a rumor that I'd heard, that there was people staking out these bars and looking for people staggering like that, or scoping out the bars and kind of abducting them and robbing them, and then throwing them in the lake.
I mean,
have you heard anything like that?
It wouldn't surprise me. I have heard those rumors before, but I haven't heard anything that would, that I can say with concrete evidence, like, hey, I've seen this, or yeah. But I've heard people saying something like that. People are just watching, kind of like picking them off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to play that a little bit. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's in my library if people want to go watch the interview. And there's a lot of other Lady Bird Lake live that I did, including maps and all kinds of stuff, scenarios and, things like that. Because I was covering it as a true crime case, not as a, anything else. But y'all go check out the library if you want to watch the rest of the interview. It's in there. Hope that you enjoyed that little bit of it,
You have to. It doesn't. It doesn't sound like law enforcement's doing a lot when they. It doesn't. It sounds like it doesn't sound like law enforcement's is doing a lot with this.
And do you have just your opinion, you or Kimber, your opinion on? I mean, I know that many people don't want to talk ill of law enforcement, but you call a spade a spade. Do they take missing people not as seriously as perhaps like a prostitute being murdered or somebody in that lifestyle being murdered? It's kind of that type of thing. Well, they're adult. They're allowed to disappear or this or that and the other. Is that your general consensus
It's
of what you've
absolutely
gotten
true.
with law enforcement?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely true. If you have someone that is a prostitute, you might as well just stand on the police force steps and with a sign every day to get anything done. Now you see teenagers that are abducted or whatever the case may be, trafficked, and it's, oh, they're just a runaway. If it's an adult missing, you get well, they have a right to be missing.
I mean, and to an extent, that's true, but we know the difference between our loved ones wandering off and going missing and something happening to them, don't you think? I mean, aren't we smart enough to realize the difference?
Yeah, oh, a lot more times than not, and mom can tell you this, in a lot of these missing cases, you get, and even when they're older, the families, you hear from the families, no, they would not leave. And the families know their loved ones. So they know that they're not just the type to take up and leave. So, and some of them have children. They would not leave their children. They would not do this. So these families are saying, hey, they did not just walk up and leave one day. So, and they're telling this to law enforcement, but law enforcement's like, well, they have the right to go missing. Well, it's one thing if, if they had gone missing maybe before, but it should still be checked into regardless. But if you've got somebody that's been at home all this time and never gone missing, and suddenly they go missing, well, they have the right. Well, if you got a loving family telling you they would never ever go missing, and you're sitting here telling them that, no, do something. And that's just like they label these kids, if they're mostly over the age of 13 or 14, oh, they're just a runaway. No, they're
Yeah.
not just a runaway. And the repeat runaways, and they're like, oh, just a repeat runaway. First of all, they need to find out why they keep running away. Why do they keep running away from that home? And check into that. See first of all, why they keep running away. But if they've ran away for the first time, I mean, Arctic's got the reform to standardize the Amber Alert because it's messed up. It needs to be for anyone that's under an Amber Alert needs to be issued for anyone under the age of 21.
Right.
It just needs to be. And if someone runs away, a child, and they go, oh, they're just a runaway if they're a teenager, they're more at risk, though. They're more at risk out there on the streets because, if they are a runaway,
because statistically speaking, if they run away, they're at a higher risk of being trafficked or selling themselves into prostitution because they got to find a way to support themselves out there on the street. And these law enforcement agencies, they've got this little rubber stamp, and anyone over the age of 10 that goes missing, it's like they stamp the flyer, run away, run away, run away. Well, they don't know. They don't know if that kid ran away. They don't know the circumstances. I mean, there's a case that from the 80s that I always mention, and that's the case of Johnny Gosh. He was a paper boy, went missing out of Iowa, and his family knew that he didn't run away. He'd never ran away before. All these years later, well, guess what? It looks like he got trafficked. And, they pleaded with the officers. They made those parents wait 48 hours before they could even file a missing persons report.
That's terrible. By the way, welcome out Arctic Fox to the panel, you guys. Hey, Arctic.
Thank you, Art.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother,
Hey.
for finishing what I was slowly trying to say because I couldn't find all the words.
Hey, Arctic, can you tell the chat and the replay crew a little bit about your channel?
Oh yeah, I focus on missing people. I try to cover the low profile cases, the ones that aren't getting any media coverage right now. I still cover the high profile. I've covered Sebastian and stuff, but And the reason I cover the low profile cases is because they're not getting any attention. Part of the reason why I started my channel is I had a friend when I was 14 years old that went missing. His case didn't get any coverage. Not until his body was discovered and the brutal details of how he died came out. Then the media was all over it.
Right. So do you echo the sentiment of Kimber and Mom as far as law enforcement? I mean, you just said a lot right there, but you've been advocating for missing kids and, adults as well. Do you find roadblocks like that as well along the way?
Absolutely. I've got a case right now where the sister of this man's supposed to come on my panel on Saturday. His name's AJ Sloan. He's missing out of Crichton, West Virginia. And law enforcement isn't doing jack shit to help that family out right now because he's a drug user. And they, basically they've all but told the family, well, he uses drugs. He put himself in this situation and we're not going to waste the resources to try to find him.
That aggravates me to no end because, that's the same thing in true crime. That they say, well, she's a prostitute or they live that drug addict lifestyle. They'll turn up eventually. Well, usually they turn up dead, right? They don't lift a finger to go look for them until it's too late most of the time.
Exactly. And
sadly, that's what happens in a lot of these cases. I had a case. The guy had been missing. He was homosexual. The police didn't take his case seriously because he was a drug user. And 3 months later, he was found deceased. Police never made any type of effort to look for him. I mean, I'm just tired of seeing police drop the ball time and time again. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the Timmy D's case where they wouldn't do jack to help Barbara. They all but cussed her out. I've got video of them flipping the woman off because they don't want to talk to her.
Right. That's awful. That's just awful. I mean, people don't just go missing no matter what people think. They just don't wander off and leave things behind, kind of like Kimber said. They don't leave their children behind. They don't leave their purse behind. How many women do you know? And I know men usually carry billfolds or whatever, but how many people do you know that just wander off with their driver's license and their money, their credit card, their keys, whatever? How many people do y'all know do that?
It doesn't happen. And in their cell phones, the number of people that have that I've covered that leave their phones behind, people are glued to technology these days. They're not going to leave that phone behind. They'll get their phone before they hell, I know I've covered stories where they went to get the phone before they went to get their kid out of the backseat of the car. So
yes. So another question that I have for you guys, do y'all have like Mom said she's part of a network, but do y'all get like notifications of these missing people with the flyers, or how do y'all know about them? Because, like I said very earlier on, I was attempting to go that arena, but it was just too much. I commend all of you as a team, an individual doing this. How do y'all get the alerts? How do you know?
well, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I do a lot of work with the Aware Foundation, and they put flyers out on the regular. MPIA is another great organization. There's just a lot of them, and there's a great group on Facebook called Vanished and Missing, and they have great mods that post tons of missing people in there. But I mean, in Mom, she's all over Twitter. That's how I'm pretty sure that's how she finds a lot of hers.
Okay. I mean, it's amazing that you're that connected. That's amazing.
and then if there's an Amber Alert in one of our states and we hear about it, or if there's an Amber Alert, if I get an Amber Alert on my phone, Mom gets one, Arctic gets one, if or Doodle gets one. If any of us get an Amber Alert, or if anyone else gets an Amber Alert, we immediately send it to everybody else so that we get it out when we get it posted.
Any of y'all looking into that Carlsbad case of that individual that went missing and then she was found deceased? She
Emily
was
Pike?
31 years old. This
Oh
was
no, that's not the one that I was thinking of.
last week, either last week or the week before. She left the hotel and they found her deceased. The last thing that it's in Carlsbad, New Mexico. I have a flyer on my page. I can't remember what her name was, but that's all I know about it. Is her and her boyfriend were having relationship problems. She left the hotel, never seen again. They put out all these missing flyers. The parents were looking, the family and friends and everybody, and then she was found like a day later deceased.
See, and that's sad because I mean, there's so many of these cases that we find as a team where there's not even so much as a write up in a newspaper for the person being missing. So if there's no write up, if law enforcement hasn't posted them to their law enforcement agency page, how's anyone supposed to know to be on the lookout for that person? And time's critical. The first 24 to 48 hours is the most critical. So if you get past that window, the chances of finding them alive are drastically reduced.
Is that for children as well, or is that just for adults, or is that universal?
That's in general. That's in general.
Okay. I mean, that's good to know because I know the same thing. And how about that little boy Dane Paulson? Y'all been looking into that?
Oh, absolutely. We've all been all over Dane's case, following it and everything.
Yes.
This was her name right here. I put the poster on my community page. Her name is Jaden Kennedy. Carlsbad, New Mexico. Last seen February.
Oh, yeah, I did do a short on Jalen. I haven't followed up on anything. I did post that she was found deceased. I do need to kind of get all the details and everything on that and maybe do a short follow up on that. But yeah, it's a tragic case. And like I said, she didn't get any coverage. NPI got her out, but I didn't really see anything from the local law enforcement agency. They may have put something out and I missed it, but that's why I say time is so critical in these cases. And I'm going to mute because I'm taking over your panel. So
you're fine. You're fine. I mean, that's why I brought y'all up because I want to get this exposure out there. Y'all need. I mean, y'all don't need me, but as much exposure as you can get. People can reach out to you guys for assistance if they need an advocate or something. You know what I'm saying? And y'all have been doing this for a while, so it seems like you know what you're doing. The one thing that I don't really like about these missing posters is kind of like they're very vague. She was last seen on February 19, 2025, leaving the sleep-in hotel near her apartment. She had a nose piercing, right cartilage piercing, blah blah blah, and that's it. I mean, what
some of them are very vague. I mean, especially in PIA, some of them only have like one sentence of information on them. But the ones that the Aware Foundation puts out, they do put a lot of details on those, and that's the ones that I do the majority of my shorts on. But like Mom and I, we've been doing this. I mean, we came across each other when we first started our channels, and we've been ride or die ever since. So
that's awesome. I'd like to keep up with you guys and on that case because it's close to home. It's right around the corner. I'd like to see what's happened to her. So if you guys find anything else out about her or do a live or something, that'd be awesome to hear. I mostly do true crime. I don't know if y'all are very familiar with my channel, but I strictly kind of stick to true crime and kind of self-help stuff, because I am a therapist. So, I stick to what I know. You know what I'm saying? I don't try to put stuff out there that I don't really have any business putting out there if I don't know about it.
Hey, but you're getting in, but you're still doing something. You're still doing something, and I've seen your channel and I've seen what you do, and you try to bring factual information to engage, and that's what's important. You don't try to, you don't try to do a lot of speculation and all of that. You try to bring factual information, and that's very important in any case, be it missing, be it, be it court cases, be it anything. That's very important to try to bring, factual information to a case.
I mean, I appreciate that wholeheartedly. I really do, because I know sometimes as creators, we feel that we put a lot of time and energy into what we do. And I don't know about you guys. I can only speak for myself, but sometimes I get down and think, well, am I really making a difference, or am I just listening to myself talk? You know what I mean? So it's always nice to hear good feedback. Um, what was I going to ask you guys? Anything else that you'd like to say? I mean, y'all have the floor. Don't feel
Well,
like you're
I
taking over.
just
Just
wanted
go
to
ahead.
say that covering the missing is, it's tragic. It takes a toll on you, but it's also very rewarding at the same time. The first time you have someone that sees their missing flyer and goes home of their own free will because they realize how much their parents miss them, that makes it all worthwhile.
Mhm. What? Let me ask you guys this. What's something the parents could do within the first couple of hours, in your opinion? I mean, would you reach out? Because many parents get so much crap over, well, they didn't do this, or they didn't do that, or they didn't call the cops right away. They called other family members. In your experience, what would be the most important step to do? One, two, three. Y'all got the floor.
Well, personally, my first call would be to law enforcement, although I do understand if they've only been missing for a short time, call the dad. Hey, I can't find little Johnny. Have you seen him? Especially if they live in a broken family where there's two different sets of houses. But the most important thing is don't take no for an answer. Don't take no when you go to file that missing persons report, and don't take that bullshit that you got to wait 24 to 48 hours because it's just simply not true anymore.
Okay. Okay, that's great information. How about you, Mom? Anything you want to add to that?
The same. Call law enforcement immediately. Um, if you have children, or you even have adults, keep pictures on file. Have those pictures handy if something ever does happen. Call law enforcement. You go out and look for them while you're on the phone with law enforcement. Make sure that you make that call. You call your local 911, or you call your local law enforcement and let them know, hey, my child's missing. Don't hesitate and don't wait, because Arctic will back me up on this. The first 24 to 48 hours are the most important. Don't wait 2 or 3 days to call thinking, oh, they just went to their friend's house. They'll be back. The family always knows. You know your child, or you know your loved one better than anybody else.
I agree with that. Did y'all
And
ever
if they
hear
don't answer you, or they tell you that they can't help, don't stop calling. If you have to go down there and stand in their police department until they answer you or they do something.
That's great advice. Did y'all ever cover the Haley Dunn case here in Texas? Were y'all doing this around 2010? 11?
No, that was before I came to YouTube.
Okay. Well,
That was before me too.
I she's local, and I've done a walk through the area and stuff. Well, she was a 13-year-old cheerleader, and she supposedly went to spend the night at a friend's house, which was not true. Um, the last person to see her was the mom's boyfriend, and it was just one big mom boyfriend covering for each other type stuff. Well, the boyfriend was arrested recently, and then he was let go because there was not enough evidence to hold him. And I mean, if you want one that's really for the books, I mean, y'all might dive into that. I've talked to the dad. He's older now, and he doesn't really want to um, talk to anybody as far as interviews or anything. But as far as there, it's still an unsolved case. Her remains were found by a lake, probably 5 years after she went missing. They searched that lake. They didn't see those remains, or they didn't see her there. Um, his phone pinged around, the ex-boyfriend's phone pinged around the lake. I mean, it's just a bunch of it's a wild case. So I mean, I don't know if y'all would like to cover that case. I have some stuff in my library that might get you could use. I mean, I have live footage of the area of the home and all that. If you decided to, take on a project or something, I'm just throwing that out there.
Absolutely. I do a lot of cold cases. So if you send me the information, I can either cover it when I do one of my weekend lives, or I can do a premiere on it and get the information out there.
We'll do. We'll do. I mean, because her killer's never been caught. I mean, there was a lot of rumors that she was trafficked, to these oil field parties over here, to some high rolling people. She was sold because of a drug debt. They shaved her head at the drug house. Um, she was there for a couple days. They gave her a hot shot, which killed her. They stuffed her in a locker. Um, and she would bounce around all over and ended up out there by the lake. I mean, you know how rumors are. Do you take much stock in rumors? Are they a little bit of the truth that you've seen in the past? Any one of y'all?
My personal opinion is that unless it's put out by law enforcement or a legitimate news source, I'd rather not put it out there for public consumption. Yeah, I do pay attention to Reddit. I pay attention to the Facebook rumors and stuff, but
Okay.
a lot of times it's just that. It's just rumor. And I would really hate to put false information out that's going to hurt the integrity of a case. Therefore, I try to stick to what's been verified.
Alrighty. Alrighty.
I couldn't have said
Well,
it better
guys,
myself.
I appreciate
I
y'all
agree.
all coming up here. And thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do. It's much appreciated. And I know sometimes the people that work the hardest get the less, a lot of times. And I know that you're not doing it for a way to go or, all that. But, sometimes it helps to hear that. Praise goes a long way, especially when you're not feeling all that great about what you may have just encountered, what you may have just seen or heard of a case that was dear to you. I mean, sometimes you need to hear good job, keep going. So I'd suggest maybe you guys continue on with your fight. If there's anything that I can do on this avenue to assist, if nothing more than just giving you a pep talk, hit me up if you need it. Okay, my email's in the channel.
Well, the most important thing that we're fighting for right now is trying to get my petition circulating all over social media to reform the Amber Alert system so that every child under the age of 18 gets an Amber Alert.
Okay, I've emailed you before. Email me that, and I'll put it on my community page to give exposure as well.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
You still have my email, right?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Mom, you do as well. Y'all have a wonderful night. I think I'm gonna close it out because I got an early day in the morning. I'm sure y'all do as well. Y'all have shows that y'all do early in the morning and stuff like that. So thank y'all so much for being here. Is there anything that you'd like to say before I close this out?
Thank you for offering to let us come up and be a voice tonight and keep up the good work.
Thank
Yes,
you.
12 guys, keep up the good work. And thank you so very much for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. You're doing amazing work. And yeah, I do watch your videos. I usually have to catch them on the replay because I miss the notifications, but you're doing amazing stuff, man.
Well, thank you so much. Y'all have a wonderful evening. And I'm going to close it out. I'm going to drop y'all down. Thank you so much for being here. You're welcome anytime.
Thank
Anytime you
you.
need my channel for anything, just let me know. Okay, I'm here at your disposal.
Thank
All right,
you.
no problem.
Bye bye.
You have a good night. All right, gals and guys that are still here, thank you so much for being here and giving the attention that is needed to this topic, because it can never be spoken on enough. I know it's not true crime, but it does coincide with true crime, because a lot of times it does end up in crime. It does end up with, people being arrested for hurting these individuals or knowing things that they could have spoke on early on. So we dropped the links to Arctic's page, Mom page, Kimber's page. Y'all go check them out, give them a like, and Doodlebug's page as well. She was here earlier. She stopped by to say hello and give us a like, so that was much appreciated. Y'all have a wonderful night, and it's time for the maestro to cue that music. See you soon.